In the heart of a valley shrouded by morning mist, my life seemed to follow the tranquil course of the river winding through the town. I was just an ordinary girl with dreams and hopes until the unexpected knocked at our door. Emily, my younger sister, began showing signs of an illness that no doctor could diagnose. Her radiance, which once lit up any room, was now slowly dimming, leaving us in silent despair. Visits to specialists became routine, each appointment a new attempt to find answers. But instead of hope, each diagnosis echoed uncertainty. My mother, Anne, a woman of unwavering faith, spent nights in prayer, while my father, John, sought answers in the pages of ancient books, trying to find some sense in the chaos that had settled in. One night, while Emily slept, I heard a whisper from the garden. Following the sound, I found a figure bathed in soft light, as if moonlight had taken human form. Their eyes, deep and serene, met mine, and an inexplicable peace flooded my being. Before I could ask who they were, they spoke. Healing is beyond what the eyes can see. Trust in the path that will be revealed. The figure vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared, leaving me with more questions than answers. However, that night marked the beginning of a journey that would change our lives forever, leading us through paths of light and shadow, where the impossible would become reality. The days following the apparition were marked by a mix of hope and skepticism. My mother, Anne, began attending local prayer meetings, seeking comfort among those who believed in the power of faith. My father, John, though more skeptical, couldn't ignore the subtle change in the air, as if something was about to happen. Emily, meanwhile, seemed to float between two worlds. There were moments when her energy returned, and she laughed as she used to, but soon after, she would fall into a deep and inexplicable fatigue. I, always by her side, tried to keep her spirits high, telling tales of adventures and fantastical worlds we had created together since we were little. One afternoon, as we walked through the woods behind our house, Emily suddenly stopped. Her eyes, usually so lively, were fixed on something I couldn't see. "Do you feel it, Sarah?" she asked, her voice a nearly inaudible whisper. "It's like the air is full of music." I didn't know how to respond. To me, the woods were silent, except for the rustling of leaves in the wind. But Emily seemed to hear something more, something that made her smile in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. That night, as the sun set in a spectacle of colors over the mountains, Emily asked me to paint what she saw. I took my paints and, under her guidance, began capturing the scene on canvas. Colors I never imagined blended under my brushes, creating an image of light and shadow, hope and mystery. John entered the room as I painted, observing in silence. Finally, he spoke. "Maybe there's something we're missing. Something beyond science and logic." His words echoed in my mind, resonating with what the luminous figure had said. The next morning, Anne announced she had invited an old family friend, Dr. Michael, to visit us. He was a renowned doctor, but also known for his holistic approach and openness to spirituality. When he arrived, he brought with him a calm and comforting presence, as if his own aura emitted a soft light. Michael spent hours talking with Emily, listening to her stories and observing her reactions. Later, he gathered with us in the living room, where the painting now held a place of prominence. "There's more than we can see or understand," he said. "Emily is in tune with something that transcends our comprehension." His words didn't bring answers, but rather a new perspective. We began to realize that the journey ahead wasn't just about finding a cure, but about discovering the depths of our own faith and understanding of the world. In that moment, I realized we were all connected by invisible threads of hope and love, and that, regardless of what the future held, we would face it together with courage and open hearts. Dr. Michael's presence brought a new breath of life into our home. He was not just a doctor, but a friend who reminded us of the beauty in small things. In his visits, he spoke to us about the importance of listening, not just with our ears, but with our hearts. Emily seemed to blossom under his attentive care. He encouraged her to express her feelings through art, music, and writing, channeling her emotions into something tangible. I watched her, amazed, as her frail hands gained strength holding a brush or a pencil, transforming paper into a world of her own. One sunny afternoon, while Michael and Emily were in the garden, he shared a story about a patient who had found peace amidst a terminal illness, not by being cured, but by finding meaning in her journey. Sometimes healing isn't about the body, he said softly, but about the soul. Those words stayed with me, echoing in the quiet moments when everyone slept and I lay awake, watching the stars through the window. There was something comforting in knowing that, even in uncertainty, there was purpose, a reason for every tear and smile. Anne, who had always been the rock of the family, began to show signs of wear. I found her crying in the kitchen one night, her shoulders shaking as she struggled to maintain composure. Without saying a word, I hugged her, feeling her warm tears on my shoulder. "I just want her to be okay," she whispered, her voice breaking. "She will be," I replied, more to myself than to her, wishing to believe my own words. Faith was a slender thread that bound us, and I clung to it with all my strength. John, on the other hand, spent more time in the woods, seeking answers in nature. He said the trees held ancient wisdom, and the sound of the wind through the leaves was like a song that calmed his restless soul. Sometimes I accompanied him, walking side by side in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. On one of these walks, we found a clearing we had never seen before. In the center stood a majestic tree, its branches stretching like open arms to the sky. John stopped, admiring its beauty. "This is where I feel peace," he said, his voice as gentle as the wind. That clearing became our refuge, a place where we could breathe deeply and feel that, somehow, everything would be okay. It was as if the earth itself was embracing us, whispering ancient secrets that only open hearts could hear. The journey was far from over, but we began to realize we were not alone. There was an invisible force around us, guiding us through the unknown, and as frightening as it was, there was also an indescribable beauty in every step we took together. The days turned into weeks, and Dr. Michael's presence was like a beacon amidst the storm. He guided us with a calmness that seemed to permeate even the darkest corners of our home. Emily, inspired by their conversations, began keeping a diary, its pages filled with deep thoughts and drawings that captured her unique view of the world. One night, as she wrote by candlelight, Emily called me over. "Sarah, have you ever wondered why all this is happening?" she asked, her eyes reflecting the flickering flame. There was a maturity in her voice that surprised me, as if she were aging beyond her years. "Every day," I replied, sitting beside her. "But maybe it's not about understanding, but about living each moment the best we can." She smiled, a smile that lit up the room. "I feel like I'm learning to see with my heart," she said softly. "It's as if each day brings a new piece of the puzzle." Those words stayed with me, resonating as I walked through the house in silence, trying to absorb the wisdom Emily seemed to possess. There was a sense that we were all growing, not just in age, but in understanding and love. And, in turn, began organizing prayer gatherings at our home. Friends and neighbors came, their voices joining in songs that filled the air with palpable energy. I watched, feeling the power of community, the union of hearts in search of hope. John continued his walks in the woods, and on one of those occasions, he brought back a small stone, smooth and shiny. "I thought Emily might like it," he said, placing it on her bedside table. It was a simple gesture, but loaded with love and intention. Michael, who watched everything with an attentive gaze, reminded us of the importance of finding beauty in the small things. "Sometimes the greatest healing comes from the simplest moments," he said, his voice a balm for our restless souls. And so life continued, amidst laughter and tears, hope and uncertainty. Each day was a gift, an opportunity to connect with each other and with the world around us. One afternoon, as the sun set on the horizon, Emily asked me to read a passage from her diary. Her words were like poetry, a mix of dreams and reality, hope and acceptance. "I don't know what the future holds," she wrote, "but I know I'm surrounded by love, and that's all that matters." In that moment, I felt a deep peace, as if all the pieces of the puzzle were finally coming together. The journey was not yet over, but we knew that, together, we could face any challenge the future held for us. The autumn winds began to blow, bringing a subtle change in the air. The leaves, once green and vibrant, now danced in shades of gold and red, a silent reminder of the passage of time. Emily, fascinated by the transformation, spent hours on our porch, capturing the fleeting beauty in her watercolors. One morning, as we watched the leaves fall, Emily told me about a dream she had. "It was a field of flowers, Sarah," she said, her voice full of wonder. "I could smell the fragrance and hear a soft music, as if the earth itself was singing." There was something magical in the way she described her dreams, as if she were connected to a world beyond ours. I listened, enchanted, feeling that each word was a window to something greater, something we couldn't see but was present in every breath. Anne, inspired by Emily's strength, began writing letters to distant relatives, sharing our experiences and the hope we found in small things. It was a way to connect, to spread the light we were discovering amidst the darkness. John, on the other hand, dedicated himself to small projects around the house, fixing what was broken, as if trying to restore order in our little world. He spoke less, but his actions said everything. There was a silent determination in each gesture, a promise that he would do anything to protect us. During one of the prayer meetings, Michael brought a surprise. He had invited a friend, a musician named Lily, to play for us. Her music was like a balm, each note a promise of hope and healing. Emily, enchanted, asked to learn to play, and Lily, with patience and care, began to teach her. The music filled our home with a new energy, each chord a reminder that, even in the darkest hours, there was beauty to be found. Emily, with her fingers still weak, persevered, each melody a triumph over adversity. One night, as the soft sound of the piano filled the air, Emily stopped playing and looked at me. "I feel like I'm starting to understand," she said, her eyes shining with a light I hadn't seen in a long time. "Music is like life, full of ups and downs, but always moving." Those words stayed with me, resonating as I watched the stars twinkle in the night sky. There was something deeply comforting in the idea that, no matter what we faced, we were all connected by an invisible melody, a song of love and hope that guided us through the darkness. The journey was far from over, but with each passing day, we felt we were closer to finding healing, not just for Emily, but for all of us. And so we continued, guided by the music of the heart, ready for whatever the future held. Winter arrived, covering the town with a white and silent blanket. The nights were long and cold, but inside our home, A flame of hope burned brightly. Emily, now full of vitality, spent hours at the piano, her melodies echoing like a silent prayer. One night, as the snow gently fell outside, something extraordinary happened. Emily, seated at the piano, began to play a new melody, a music none of us had heard before. There was something almost supernatural in her performance, each note vibrating with an energy that seemed to fill the air. Suddenly, she stopped, her hands hovering over the keys. "I felt something," she said, her voice a whisper. As if someone was playing with me. We all felt it. There was a presence in the room, a sense of peace and love that enveloped us. Michael, who was with us, closed his eyes, absorbing the moment. "Sometimes music is the language of angels," he said softly. In that instant, something inside me changed. I realized that the journey was not just about finding a physical cure, but about the transformation of our souls. We were all growing, learning to see the world with new eyes, to hear with new ears. Anne, who had always been the silent strength behind everything, began to share her own music. Her voice, gentle and full of emotion, joined the piano, creating a harmony that touched our hearts. It was as if we were all part of a greater symphony, each of us an essential note in the melody of life. John, who used to be skeptical, now spoke about the importance of believing in what we cannot see. "Sometimes faith is the only thing we have," he said, his eyes filled with determination. And that is enough that night. As the fire crackled in the fireplace, Emily told us about a dream she had. "I was in a field of flowers," she began, her eyes shining, "and there was a light, so bright, but not blinding. It was as if it was calling me. Her dreams, always so vivid, now seemed more than simple nocturnal visions. There was a truth in them, a message that transcended words. We felt that we were on the brink of something great, something that could change everything. Then it happened. Emily, who had struggled for so long, began to show signs of recovery. Her energy returned, and with it, her contagious laughter. It was as if music, love, and faith had united to create a miracle before our eyes. The turnaround was unexpected, but deeply welcomed. We felt that we had been touched by something divine, something that reminded us of the beauty and mystery of life. And so, with hearts full of gratitude, we continued our journey, knowing that, regardless of what the future held, we were ready to face everything together. With the arrival of spring, the energy in our home was palpable. Emily, now full of life and purpose, ran through the flower-filled fields as if rediscovering the world. Every flower, every breath of wind, seemed like a gift, a celebration of the life that was once again coursing through her veins. Anne, inspired by Emily's recovery, organized a small gathering for friends and family. The house was filled with laughter and music, a tapestry of sounds that filled every corner with joy. It was more than a celebration. It was a tribute to the journey we had traveled together. During the gathering, Michael approached Emily, a gentle smile on his face. "You're living proof that miracles happen," he said, his voice laden with emotion. "Your strength and resilience are a beacon for all of us." Emily, always humble, simply smiled. "I think we are all miracles," she replied, her voice filled with wisdom. "Sometimes we just need something to remind us of that." Those words stayed with me, resonating as I watched people dance and laugh around us. There was a simple truth in them, a reminder that despite difficulties, there is always light to be found. John, who had become a pillar of strength and faith, made a toast. "To family, to friends, and to life," he said, his voice strong and clear. "May we always find beauty in each day and never forget the power of love. The gathering continued late into the night, each moment a reminder that we were all connected by something greater than ourselves. We felt the presence of something divine, an invisible force that guided and protected us. In the days that followed, Emily began writing a book about her experience. She wanted to share her story, not as a tale of overcoming, but as a celebration of the life and love she had found amidst adversity. As she wrote, I watched her, amazed by her determination and courage. There was a beauty in her journey, a reminder that even in the darkest hours, there is always light to be found. Anne, always the caring mother, began helping Emily with the book, her own words and experiences intertwining with Emily's. Together, they created something beautiful, a story that touched the heart and inspired the soul. Michael, who had become part of our family, continued to visit us, bringing with him the peace and wisdom that had always comforted us. He reminded us that the journey never ends, but that each step is an opportunity for growth and discovery. And so, with hearts full of love and gratitude, we continued our journey, knowing that, regardless of what the future held, we were ready to face everything together, guided by the light we had found amidst the darkness. As summer warmed the days, our home became a sanctuary of peace and renewal. Emily, now completely recovered, spent her afternoons in the garden, nurturing flowers that seemed to bloom under her gentle touch. Each petal was a silent testament to her journey, a reminder of the strength and beauty she had discovered. Anne and John, more united than ever, rediscovered joy in the small things. Together, they explored unknown trails, each walk a new adventure that connected them even more. There was a lightness in their steps, a subtle dance celebrating the life and love they shared. One afternoon, while we were walking through the forest, Emily stopped beside the majestic tree John had discovered months before. This tree has always given me a sense of peace, she said, caressing the rough bark. It's as if it holds all our secrets and dreams. John smiled, silently agreeing. Nature has a way of reminding us what truly matters, he replied, his voice soft and full of gratitude. As the sun set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, we felt a profound connection with everything around us. It was as if we were all tuned to an invisible melody, a song of love and hope echoing in our hearts. At home, Emily continued to work on her book, each word a piece of the puzzle that formed her story. Anne, always by her side, encouraged her, reminding her that her voice was important, that her story could inspire others to find strength in their own journeys. Michael, who had become not just our doctor, but a true friend, visited us regularly. He brought with him stories of other patients, other lives that had also been touched by the inexplicable. Each of us has a unique path, he said, his voice full of wisdom. And it's in sharing these stories that we find healing and connection. Music continued to be a vital part of our lives. Emily, now a skilled pianist, played for us every night. Her melodies a silent prayer that filled the house with peace. There was something almost magical in her music, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always light to be found. One night, as the soft sound of the piano echoed through the room, Emily stopped playing and looked at us, her eyes shining with an inner light. I feel like I'm exactly where I need to be, she said, her voice full of emotion. And no matter how uncertain the future is, I know I'm surrounded by love. We felt we had reached a point of peace and acceptance, and understanding that life is a series of moments, each precious and unique. And so, with hearts full of love and gratitude, we continued our journey, ready for whatever the future held, knowing we were prepared to face everything together. As summer continued, our home became a gathering place for friends and family. There was a vibrant, and welcoming energy that drew everyone to our little haven. The nights were filled with laughter, stories, and the gentle music of Emily's piano, which seemed to touch the soul of everyone who listened. Emily, now a young woman full of life and purpose, was preparing to launch her book. It was more than a collection of words. It was a journey of hope, love, and transformation. She wanted her story to inspire others to find beauty in adversity, to believe that miracles are possible when the heart is open. On the night of the launch, our home was filled with people, each eager to celebrate Emily's courage and resilience, and prepared a feast, each dish a work of love, while John, always the attentive host, made everyone feel welcome. Michael, standing beside Emily, spoke with emotion about the importance of sharing our stories. Each of us has a unique light to offer the world, he said, his voice echoing with sincerity. And it is through sharing that we find strength and inspiration. When Emily stepped onto the makeshift stage, silence fell over the crowd. She looked at all of us, her eyes shining with gratitude. "This book is a piece of my heart," she began, her voice firm and full of emotion. "I hope it brings hope and light to everyone who reads it, just as you have brought to me." Emily's words touched everyone, and when she finished, the room erupted in applause. There were tears in many eyes, including mine, as I felt pride and love overflow in my heart. That night, while the stars shone brightly in the sky, Emily and I sat in the garden, watching the city lights in the distance. "You've done something incredible," I said, holding her hand. "Your story will touch many lives." She smiled, a smile that lit up the night. "I just hope people feel the love and hope I've found," she replied, her voice soft and full of sincerity. There was a deep peace in our little world, an understanding that despite difficulties and uncertainties, we were all connected by bonds of love and hope. We felt we had reached a place of acceptance and gratitude, ready to face the future with courage and open hearts. And so, with hearts full of love and gratitude, we continued our journey, knowing that, regardless of what the future held, we were prepared to face everything together, guided by the light we had found amidst the darkness. As autumn approached, life in our home was filled with new possibilities. The launch of Emily's book brought not only recognition, but also a wave of connection with people from all over, who found hope in her words. We received letters and messages from readers touched by her story, each one a reminder of the impact Emily was having on the world. And, always the caregiver, found joy in reading these messages, sharing them with us at the dinner table. "It's amazing how a story can touch so many lives," she would say, her eyes shining with pride. "It's like each person is a new light ignited." John, who had become a master at finding beauty in small things, began planning a family trip. "I think we deserve an adventure," he announced, his voice full of enthusiasm. "Something to remind us of how good it is to be alive." Emily, excited by the idea, suggested we visit the mountains, a place where nature and serenity met. "I've always wanted to see the leaves change color," she said, her eyes full of anticipation. "It's like nature itself is showing us that change can be beautiful." The trip was marked by laughter, discoveries, and moments of pure joy. We walked along trails covered in golden and red leaves, each step a dance with the earth beneath our feet. There was a freedom in those mountains, a feeling that we were exactly where we needed to be. One afternoon, while resting by a crystal-clear lake, Emily surprised us with a new melody she had composed. Sitting together, we listened as she played, her notes echoing through the valley, a song of gratitude and life. "This music is for all of us," she said, her voice gentle and full of love. "For every moment we've shared, for every challenge we've overcome, as the sun set, painting the sky with a spectacular display of colors, I felt a deep peace in my heart. I realized that the journey we had traveled was not just about finding healing, but about discovering the depth of love and connection that united us. Back home, there was a new lightness in our step, an understanding that, no matter what the future held, we were ready to face it together. Emily continued to share her music and her words, touching lives in ways we had never imagined. And so, with hearts full of love and gratitude, we continued our journey, ready for whatever the future held, knowing that we were prepared to face everything together, guided by the light we had found amidst the darkness.